Thank you. I just missed it. I just missed it in the notes. That's all. Thank you.
Yep.
You said, do you know how to spell that? The invasive?
It's PHRAGMITES, Phragmites, also known as a common reed.
I've definitely, if I'm not mistaken, it's more like if you're looking at the pond, it's more off to the left side. Is that correct? If I'm thinking of the right stuff?
If you're sitting there, let's say on the beach, it flanks both sides of the beach there. It's the very tall stuff that's probably 6, 7, 8 feet tall with like the tassel on the top of them. It looks like long reeds.
Okay.
There's those two sections, and then there's also another very large section further down in the southeast corner of the pond.
Now, do you know, is this something that they'd have to like physically remove, or if we put in like an enzyme, it might go away?
There is a number of methods. The most effective is basically it's Roundup Tribacor.
Just the regular stuff Roundup you buy at the grocery store or something specific?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
And not the grocery store, I'm at the hardware store.
No. I hold a Connecticut Supervised Pesticide Applicator's license. There's a special type of Roundup that can be used in aquatic situations. The regular stuff that you buy in the hardware store, no, that's because of the vehicle, the other chemicals it's mixed with to spread it. But there's a certain one. It has to be spread by a licensed pesticide applicator. There's also, when it dries out, burning it. There's mechanical removal, which we don't want to do because you got to dig up out of the pond because it's spreading into the pond. Basically, the most effective way is to spray it, cut it down, right? Remove the stuff there. And then in the next year, what comes up again, you can then see it and you can spot spray it. This is something that it's a multi-year process. There isn't just one thing. You can get it to the point where you control it and you can reduce it back to where it's not so bad. Total elimination, that's tough, but it can be controlled. The Connecticut Invasive Plant Working Group, you can contact them. They're up at Yukon. And what they'll do is they'll come by and they'll work with you and recommend what they think is the best method to deal with the problem. Also, you have a representative of the working group that actually lives here in Ledger that I know. I could contact her and tell her that you may be interested in speaking with her, and she could probably get a hold of you if you'd like. You know, she lives right here in town. I'm sure she'd go down and take a look at it, then get a hold of you, and then you can begin to maybe look at your different options.
That'd be great, actually, because I met with somebody, but it was more for, it looks like algae control, I don't know if it'll help with the invasive, but.
No.
Because we do have, like, for the capital this year to get the aerators, and then, like, we were looking into possible treatments for the lake in addition to that. So that might be more important than tackling the algae at this point.
Yeah. I think we should at least, given the usage of Highlands, right? So Mike, to your point, it may quickly limit our access to the shoreline. I think we at least need to understand what it would take and get an estimate cost-wise to see that, because it is one of our core water access points for the town. So
there are companies who specialize in eradication. A lot of eradication has been done by volunteer groups. You know, the spraying would have to be done by a certified pesticide applicator, but the fact of the cutting it down and cutting it back, it's always going to be a volunteer project. You know, maybe the Cub Scouts, the Boy Scouts for an Eagle Scout project or something. I don't know. There's different options. That's why I said if you spoke with this woman I know, Alyssa, she may be able. She works with a group who does this throughout the state, puts together grants, puts together volunteer projects, and she could probably guide you a whole lot better than I could.
Does it grow in the water?
Yes, it's growing into the water. Yes, it is.
Okay.
And that's considerably more. When it grows into the water, it begins to replace, well, naturally what it does is replaces all your native. I'm noticing where it's starting to grow into what you would normally have your lily pads. Also, something really funny is on the land side, you have another invasive mugwort, which is terrible invasive. This is starting to take over and kill the mugwort. That's how bad, this is how, how much of a problem this can be.
I'm also guessing that probably contributes to like the bacteria levels too that we're trying to keep under wrap. Does it take away from the oxygen in the water?
It could. I don't think there's enough biomass to reduce the oxidation of the pond. There's not enough of that. The bacteria level in the pond may be because there's a beaver in there. Because I've seen them on occasions. Haven't seen them lately, but I have seen them on occasions.
They're not, I don't think, that high. We pass still for the swimming. It's just usually after a rainfall event, if it does get above the threshold. That's, I think, because of the runoff.
Mhm.
So,
Jessica, what we're speaking of is the Phragmites that we spoke about at the Conservation Commission meeting last week. So I was just informing the group here about it.
okay. Scott, do we need a motion to at least reach out perhaps to the invasive plant working group through our town contact?
I
Or
don't think we need a motion for
I
that.
don't think
I
we
think
need that, right? We just,
when it comes to deciding, when it comes time to figuring out how to fund it, that's, I think, when we need that
Yes,
discussion.
that's what I thought.
Just quickly for the minutes, somebody joined by phone. Could you identify yourself, please?
It's me, Ken.
Oh, good, Ken. Hi, Ken. Thanks.
How are you?
Okay. Great. Well, Mike, I appreciate it. And to you said it's just Highlands thus far. You haven't seen any other, well, we're talking just invasive species in general.
I haven't noticed any more that are on Parks and Rec.
Okay.
I've got a whole lot on Conservation Commission properties, but
Sure. Yeah.
But that's the only one I've noticed that, is on Parks and Rec.
I can go out the sawmill too and see if I notice anything there, but that, I don't think I've seen any read.
I was gonna say, I haven't seen any there, Scott.
I was out sawmill maybe a month or so ago walking around there and I didn't notice anything.
Okay. Perfect. Any other questions for Mike? Anyone?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Mike. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Good night, all.
Good night.
Bye.
Right.
Ken, do you want to take lead over or do you want me to just keep running through?
Sure. Where'd you leave off? What was that
You
about?
were just at opening. Mike's was the citizens' comments. I don't know if we have any other citizens' comments. We'll be where we're at.
And just a quick review. What was that about? That was,
So there's an invasive species. Mike sits with the Conservation Commission and he happened to be out and noticed an invasive species at Highlands Lake that if we don't address it will eventually affect our access to the lake overall.
Okay.
So he made a proposal. There's a couple. There's a Connecticut Invasive Plant Working Group out of Yukon that will give us some options for how to potentially address it. And then I think where we landed, there's also somebody in town that he knows that he can put us in contact with who is part of that commission.
oh, great. Okay, thank you for the update.
All right.
Why don't you continue right now? I'm still trying to pull it up.
Yeah, no worries. So were
Computer
there
started to work again.
Yeah, were there any other citizens' comments or was it just Mike?
I just, Mike, it looks like everybody else is
Yeah.
commission members.
Okay. Scott, any informational items for us?
I guess I know Meredith was there. We just had the public informational forum for the ARPA funds, and it looks like the playground and a few other of the projects are still on there. They're looking at improvements to Erickson as far as expanding the parking lot there. And that wasn't in their list of we're rejecting these projects. So that's a good sign.
Okay. Excellent. All right, moving on then. Review and approval of the prior meetings. So did everybody get a chance to look at the January 18th minutes attached?
Yes.
Any comments or adjustments?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That'll carry. So then let's move on to the finance director's report, which was also embedded in the agenda. So hopefully everybody got a chance to look at that. Scott, do you want to talk us through any highlights?
Yeah. So as far as like trees, we've had a few big storms lately. We do have one. We got very lucky that a big branch came down over the shed and Blonders. Luckily, it got caught up to the side of it. And actually, it's a healthy tree too. It literally just snapped right in half at the fork. So we're going to have that taken down before it can fall on the garage. I went out and looked at a few trees on the Tri-Town Trail too that need to be cut down. There's about 4 to 5 widowmakers that are leaning over the trail itself that are a big concern. It's just been tough to get a contractor out there because I went and looked at them, and then the next day we got the 4 or 5 feet of snow. So there's no way to get anybody out on the trail to take a look at it. So once it clears up, we'll go out there, probably EJ, and get a few other get some quotes to see about taking those down. Basketball's coming to an end. They have the Neil Hope coming up in March. For summer camps, we met with HR today, so the job should be posted by the end of the week. And then actually we're talking with some of the other local park and rec departments about doing a summer camp job fair. Everybody's kind of hurting for quality staff lately, so we figured if we can have a big event, kind of show some of the younger kids, high school, college age, what it's like to work at camp, generate some interest, and then also maybe an interview on the spot. Hopefully we can bring in some more applications for this year. The board
How old can you be to be a camp counselor?
16 is the minimum.
Minimum? Okay.
Would it make sense to advertise at the local high schools then, or at least at Ledyard High School, and then maybe some of the local community and colleges?
Yeah, we're looking in the colleges. We do post it at the high school. We send it to the guidance counselors. I believe they post it and then try and talk it up to some of the students as well for us. We're asking the Board of Ed too to send it out to the teachers because they might be looking for a summer job.
Good idea.
And seeing as they work with
Maybe those high school
to be quality.
teachers that are doing those child development courses, maybe.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. I can see if we have one. Yeah, let's see if they have some people that are interested too, because we're worried about getting coordinators for this year. Because the coordinators we had previously are both moving on, so we don't have anybody. It's nice to have at least one person who's done it before, so they can kind of teach the other person how to do it. So we'll be part of the rest this year. The recreational trail grant is still moving along. It was ranked very highly by the advisory committee, and they asked us for some more information. So they said it's being considered right now for full or partial funding, and we should be hearing a decision on that soon. So that'll be good for the Tri-Town Trail. It's for the planning for the town for the next portion, where we're going to go and how we're going to go about moving that trail forward towards Groton. The steep grant, the picnic tables have been delivered. Public Works started putting a few of them together. They're storing them under the pole barn right now. They were able to pour the concrete pads for the tables before the weather changed. And they're holding off to do the concrete pad for the pavilion until the spring. And then they'll install the pavilion as well, hopefully this spring before rental season picks up. Park and Rec truck, waiting. They can't get us pricing till about mid-March because they're waiting for the state contract matrix to come out because of the new models. So once they have the pricing, we can get the truck ordered. But it's looking like a F-350 regular cab 4x4, and we just have to look at the axle, he said, to make sure it'll meet the towing weight that we need for the mobile restroom. Also been meeting with a bunch of different groups about Regatta Day. So I think it's like the Economic Development Commission, Gales Ferry District, the Town Historian, the Rotary Club, members of like Yale and Harvard. They're talking about doing multiple events and having a viewing down at Erickson, possibly getting a shuttle going from Job Lot down to Erickson for people to watch the event. Because I think it's like the 120th year anniversary. They want to highlight some of the businesses and services offered here in the town. So they've been working on that. So we have another meeting next week to talk about that. And then the Easter egg hunt coming up soon. And then we're actually having our youth races as well this year for the first time in 2 years. So we'll see how that picks back up. If we're going to have, we usually have like 500 kids racing. So hopefully we'll have those numbers after starting back up 2 years later.
500 kids in duathlon?
Yeah, they're pretty big events. Like we have Camp Harkness and Harkness, and with the parents, there's over 1,000 people there typically.
Yeah.
So it's a very long day.
So Scott, presumably you need help for the Easter egg hunt like past years, yes?
Yeah, I think so. We haven't talked to like the Lions yet because I was going to see if they want to collaborate again because that worked out nice for them having the Easter Bunny and doing pictures there, especially if the parents had kids in multiple age groups. There was something to do in between while they waited. If they had a younger child and someone in the last wave, they could go over and do pictures in between, kind of kept the kids occupied.
Hey, Scott, I think I'm available that day for the Easter egg hunt if you need adult help. I know that last year you were short kids, but I'm pretty sure I have that day free.
And we'll probably have a lot more kids this year now that the pandemic's kind of behind us because it was a low number compared to the past, I think, to the pandemic.
So Scott, I have the recent names and contact points for all of the service organizations at the high school. If you want to put an email together for what and where you need help on any of this, I would happily get that off to Mr. Meyer, Mr. Yonke, and all of those guys.
So actually, I think Monica's ahead of you. She's they actually, I think, reached out to her because they want to get a whole list through the summer. So she's sending them over all the events that we could think of coming up so they could pass it on to the kids for volunteer opportunities.
Perfect.
I think that's it for the director's report. Yeah.
So we somehow glazed over the finance report. Was there anything to highlight, or can we make a motion to approve both the directors and finance reports together?
If there's a finance report,
It's no finance report though.
I didn't see if I was going to say, did I miss the finance report?
it's because it's a special meeting. It has a mind of its own. It should just say director's report. It probably
I
added.
might be able to correct that.
Okay.
I had a question though. On the STEEP grant, I guess I heard the town council approved some more funding for some projects that are not done. I think they're tied to what's going on at the town green. What do we know what the overruns are, or what's not done that had to be that has to be done under that approved?
I think it might be, a lot of it's to do with that pole barn. I know that's, the money's going up faster than they thought there, to be able to do it right, because there's been talks about like encapsulating the poles and then replacing certain poles, plus, and they're doing the roof over. We're also going to pave that now because the billings were kind of like a safety hazard. But with COVID, the prices have gotten jacked up a little bit with, shipping and then parts, labor shortages. That's taken an effect on the initial cost that was projected. So that's, I think, what the overflow is to cover those added expenses for the same stuff, but the prices have gone up due to COVID.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So can we have a motion to approve the director's report as reviewed?
Motion to approve.
Second,
All in favor?
I,
Old business? There's nothing on the agenda?
Have we, because I missed the last meeting, did we ever hear back from the Boy Scout who was looking at the skate park thing at Highland Park?
No,
Scott, you
he's
haven't
got a
heard
lot
back
of
from him?
He's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, Sin found the binder of the Groton
Oh.
skate park in her old notes, and she's got some contacts. So did the kid leave some kind of contacts with anybody?
His dad is on inland wetlands and water courses, and they're
Be in the meeting minutes.
yeah.
Okay.
I have his contact for him and his dad because his dad, was trying to make him email me and then was just CC'd on everything.
Okay.
He was
Yeah,
supposed
Scott,
to call Cindy.
Yeah. I mean, we have it here at the house, so just hit me or her, either one. Probably her. She knows more than me, and she found the whole book. So it's a place for the kid to start.
It's awesome.
Thank you.
Because he's I think the leader to that troop. So
Yeah. I mean, it's a massive undertaking if it's going to happen, but it's at least, a starting point of where Groton started.
mhm.
So moving on to new business, I think Highlands rental, the community hope permit. Scott, you wanted a proposal, I think, on costs.
Yeah, I got a little more information. I'd recommend probably not charge them anything extra. So when I got a little more information, they're charging to attend the event, but simply to cover the cost of food. It's a nonprofit organization, and they're not trying to raise money as a fundraiser for this event. They're just having a pig roast, I believe. So it's going to cover the cost of the pig roast. I think they're having a company come in to actually to cook it on site. So, but per the permit, it says that we'd assess a separate fee if they're charging an admission fee.
I guess I got a question when I was looking at that because I started thinking about what that all meant. Why is there a different charge for just between a nonprofit and a religious organization?
Your guess is as good as mine. That was set up before my time. And that
is it
could be
more or less? I haven't looked at those in a while.
It seems like it's a little redundant, and it's like you're charging other people more money that probably doesn't necessarily need to be done.
Is it more or less for the nonprofit versus the religious organizations?
Nonprofit's 25,
Yeah.
and town religious organizations 120.
Wow, that doesn't make any sense. Aren't they all nonprofits? Like, don't they have a?
I thought
But, yeah.
so.
I thought
Yeah.
501. Actually, that's the next thing on the agenda anyways, to look at those so we can.
Yeah, that's why I figured to bring it up.
So Scott, given what you've said, I'm okay to motion that we waive the fee for the community, I hope.
We're not waiving the fee. We're
Or
keeping
not
it
waiving the
25.
fee, but
Yeah.
not charging waiving the separate fee for the income.
Yeah, and just charge them the permit fee.
I second that motion if needed.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. So moving on then, Scott, to the fees itself.
Yeah, so I thought it was good to look at the fees. Plus, we got to think we had the pole barn being used as well, and we're adding an additional a metal pavilion down on the town green. So we should probably add those to the permit. We had just been charging people for Holdridge last year when they wanted to use the pole barn. But we should probably add it as a separate location.
These numbers are just bizarre. So-
Yeah, no,
So if you're a religious organization that's not in town, you're getting charged more than non-town business,
Mhm.
or just about the same.
And I figured I can get some numbers and see what some of the other towns do.
that would be
This
helpful.
wouldn't be, approved tonight, but I thought we should start looking at it before the weather turns.
I think that would be great, Scott. I mean, I can't remember. Lou, you guys have been here. I can't remember when we last.
Fees have never, I can tell you since I've been on here, and I think I'm on my 6th or 7th year, I've lost track. We have not changed the fees. There's been discussion in the past on reviewing, and whenever it's come up once or twice at least, but every time it comes up, it's kind of a more complicated undertaking reviewing, because then it gets pulled into reviewing all of the policies and procedures, and then it gets lost in the shuffle. We have not had an administrative committee meeting in probably at least 3 or 4 years. At one point, the administrative committee, and I think that committee has all pretty much turned over since the commission has turned over since the last time we all met anyway, was looking at rewriting, I don't want to say modernizing, but just reviewing the policies in general, including the fees, to see if they're still relevant, if it still makes sense. Did they follow town ordinances? It was a bigger undertaking than I think anybody truly expected or planned, because then when we start digging into the policies, and the issue came up is whether they met the town, whether they were in sync with town ordinances or not. And so it never really went anywhere because it was too big of a project for anybody to tackle at the time. I think if we want to look at the fees, we should probably look at that separately and not drag in the policy and procedures again, because I think that needs to be a separate undertaking and maybe chunked up over time, and really needs somebody who's very organized and has the time to lead that effort to dig in. It's something that's a bigger, we've tried it, I think 2 or 3 times, and it's too big of an undertaking for our little volunteer group or for the time we had at the time.
Yeah, the last time I remember you and Maze and I were trying to meet, and that was 2 administration committees ago, I think. So
Probably.
which Scott actually triggered another thought. So not to moot off Lou's point, which I think is valid. Let's handle the fees separately from the whole of the beast. But we have a lot of members that have traded in and out. I don't actually think we have a current list of the required administration versus facilities committees. So we probably need to address that next meeting.
Yeah, because I don't know who's assigned
I
what.
mean-
They can reassign people.
Yeah, I might still have notes on that somewhere. I just pulled out my binder. I might be able to, and maybe it's not a topic for this meeting. I can look that up
I
and
think
see if I have a list. I'm sure I have a list somewhere.
So can I follow back on why was it important to have policies and procedures for like a nonprofit? Is there a policy and procedure that's associated with that with the town?
Well, we're not a nonprofit. Is that what you mean?
No. So my understanding, what you're saying is that you had issues with describing the fees because
It's built into the policy.
they're tied into policies and procedures of the
Of the
town.
commission, not the town. So yeah, there's a policy and procedures book, which I do not have up here. It might be downstairs. Yeah, I don't have it handy because I wasn't expecting this discussion
Okay,
tonight.
we don't have to go over in detail. It's just more of,
Yeah.
because we never really discussed this at the meetings.
We didn't.
That's part of
So
my information, so
yeah,
I'm not aware of
the
it.
fees and the permits are in the policy and procedures manual. There is a policy and procedures manual for the new members here. I'm not sure if you've gotten a copy. I say new, like anybody who's joined in the last 2 years. I don't know if you ever got a copy because it was very outdated. Like literally I don't know if anybody even ever retyped it. It was literally copies of old ordinances, all like hand put together into a binder. It was really ugly too.
There's only one binder, I think.
It was one binder. Yeah, so
We
the
don't hand it out.
policies themselves, the fees are built into the policies because the policy and procedures include the permit applications, which include the fees. And so it really does need to be reviewed at some point. We do need to kind of put that on our roadmap for something to tackle at some point, even if it's chunked up a section at a time or whatever, because the policies, some of them are very outdated. Some of them are not in sync with town ordinances. So every time that we go to dig into the fees, we get into this, like we go down this rabbit hole of the policies and everything else. So I think they just need to be kept separate, or at least discussed separately. Maybe we discuss the fees, then go back and update the policies as part of a bigger project.
Now, is it policies and procedures for the commission, not the department?
For the commission, and I think actually,
I've never.
I think
seen
they're
this.
one and two. I think they're one and the same. I'll have to look at it. Maybe we could kind of table this. We can discuss the fees and table the policy and procedures discussion for the next meeting. I'll have to look. I'm pretty sure they are department policy and procedures because they include things like, could they have alcohol at the rentals, and could they do this, and could they, is there smoke? I think there's a smoking policy in there. So it really covers the public use of our parks. It does cover department as well as commission. It's like all in one, I think.
Well, because we did,
But it's been forever, yeah.
we recently looked at the policies because I said we had to make 2 changes because of the ordinance change. So I think we changed like the alcohol portion, and then I think something to do with the dogs being on a leash because of
Oh yeah, the dog thing. So the chances are that the one I have is probably outdated then anyway.
And honestly, Don has like 17 versions of them. So I just took one that looked the cleanest and brought that up to that commission meeting. So technically, I guess that's our official.
Is that our new
policies
official?
at the moment. We voted on them.
Okay.
And I don't think it has the fees set in that version. So we might have the ability to do this without having to worry about the policies at the same time.
Okay.
It blows my mind because it really shouldn't be this complicated.
Could you have someone look at that, Scott, then, just to kind of see, is this where we have to actually separate this, or is this just as simple as department can just charge whatever they want to charge? Because in the end, you end up charging what you want to charge anyways, right? That paper doesn't really mean that much.
Well, you would set the fees, I think, for rental, as far as like the permit goes right here. I think the separate fee, I usually bring the separate fee to be assessed by you guys, unless it's really like really close and I have to make a decision, within the end of the week.
Okay. Yeah, just have someone look at that. Just, they don't have to change anything. Just let us know what that detail is, and then let's have an administrative meeting.
Agreed.
Special meeting for that, just to kind of get a grasp of what this, because it's kind of silly. I think it looks poorly on us if we hand it out to like nonprofit groups that someone's getting charged 3 times more than someone else just because they might be a religious nonprofit.
Yeah, and I can look at, I can get, I think that's might be on the state website. I might be able to pull everybody in the state because I think somebody recently just did a study on it. Then we can also see what groupings they're charging too. Like, so if they're just charging, resident, non-resident, business, nonprofit, that would clean the permit up a lot too, because there's a lot of numbers on there.
Yeah.
And Jess posted in the chat 2 links. It looks like Preston and then Groton. So we can check those as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of them might have been who sent it out to the state asking for the fees schedules. So I can see, because they'll probably have an Excel that's nice and organized with a lot more information than we probably need, but it'll be very helpful.
Okay. So I guess as far as this category is concerned, it was open to discussion, right? We're not doing anything at this, so we don't need to really approve that part.
Unless we're
not changing anything.
We're not changing the fees at this point, so we don't need, I guess we don't need to do anything.
Yeah, we can just table it. and then revisit it.
Okay. So nothing on that, then moving to the Christy Hill lighting project update. So it sounds like there's, it looks like that you've got quotes embedded in here, Scott, right?
Yep. So we're using the Omnia contracts. That way we're actually below the 15,000, but we wouldn't have to go out to bid. The proposal amount will probably change slightly because it's talking today, because pricing's up and down all over the place. So once I gotta get that and sign it as soon as I can, so it doesn't keep going up. This doesn't include everything for the project. The proposal attached just has basically the part. So it's like the lighting poles, the lights themselves, and then 2 floodlights. So the plan is to do 4 lighting poles. There'll be, I think, 3, and then another one off to the side towards like the water station there to kind of light the parking lot. And then the 2 poles on the backside will actually have floodlights that'll light into the park to give a little bit of light at night, just so you can kind of see what's going on there and deter people from going in there and, doing anything they're not supposed to. We'll have to get concrete bases. Luckily, he was able to use the same poles and fixtures that we used recently at the town green. So that way, hopefully it'll save us, because the concrete company, if I go to, I think it's Aero Concrete, should already have the setup for those bases. So those poles will tie into them. Because otherwise, I think sometimes they have to custom make it based on the, the pole fixtures. And then we also have to get a service installed. So working on that. We're working with Public Works as well to save a lot of money. They're going to, I think, dig most of the trenching, lay a lot of the conduit. So basically all we have to do is have the electrician come in and tie in the wires to the service. He'll have to install the service, but then tie everything into the poles and into the service, because he's the licensed electrician. Everything will already be ran. So he's basically just attaching the ends to where they need to go to save us a lot of money by taking care of most of the work in town. So it's nice help that Public Works is going to, give us a hand with this. Saves a lot of money for labor and for the electrician.
So Scott, where's the floodlights gonna go?
So on the back, so like if there's an L in the parking lot, on the back side, they'll be on the 2 poles there facing into the park.
Okay.
So they'll be on the back side of the parking lot poles and shine into the park, just so there's a little bit of light, like heading one towards the baseball field and one towards like the playground there.
It's not towards any houses.
No, yeah, and it's all woods back there, and then the little water station is back there.
Mm-hmm.
The one that the vandalism occurred on last. Yeah.
And the lights will be on a timer, so they'll only turn on. They'll have a photosynthetic sensor that'll it'll trigger when it gets dark enough that the lights will turn on, and they'll be able to dim. They'll have them at like a certain output, so it's not blinding the neighbors as well.
Okay. Do we need a motion on that, or you're still collecting? We'll need a final motion when it's.
I mean, if we want to, I guess, accept the proposal, the price might change slightly. But then if we wait, it might be outside of that time again, and you have to send another proposal.
So did we get 3 bids for this?
Huh?
Did we get 3 bids for this, or is this the company we already decided to go for?
So we don't have to get bids because it's we're doing under the contract. It's the Omnia contract. So it's already been put out to bid. So the pricing's established through the contract.
Gotcha. Okay.
That way it saves a lot of administrative work, so we don't have to go, write an RFP.
The only problem is if we make a motion, we're making a motion to approve the proposal as presented. If it comes in at slightly more, technically we'd need another vote.
Do we need to approve it because it was approved as a project? Or should we?
That's what I was wondering. Yeah,
the concepts, because essentially it's like the concept we're approving going with 4 parking lot.
Yeah, if we've already
lights.
approved it and then we don't need to put it out to bid, so we're not accepting bids, we're going with the state contract, then we probably don't even need
that's what I
a
was thinking.
a motion.
Yeah, more so to, I think, approve the concept of going with 4 light poles, you know, rather than 3 or 5.
Okay, so we can motion on the design, the lighting project design to meet the needs of the project as intended is what we need to do.
So
So
include
moved.
4 poles, or just to approve the lighting project design as presented.
As presented, I would think is fine.
Okay, I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I did. So moved.
I'll second it, Lou.
Thank you. Actually, Shay, you're running the meeting. You
Oh, I
can't.
can't second it. You're right.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And then I would say we're ready to adjourn, but maybe before we do, just welcome formally
Yes.
Caleb to the commission. So thanks for joining, Caleb. Great to have you.
One day we'll see you live.
Actually, do we want to discuss, do you guys want to meet in person? I think we should be okay to do that next month. The mask mandate was lifted, so.
Sounds good to
Well,
me.
I'm okay with that.
I would, yeah, it would be nice to actually see you guys in person. Okay.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks for running,
Have a great
Shay.
night.
Well done, everyone.
Have a good one.
See you in person next month.
Nice seeing everyone.
Have a good night.
Good night.